Hello guys, it's been a while. Welcome back to my channel. I really do apologize for keeping you guys waiting for such a long time. Obviously I've not touched base with you guys since I came in here. Since I moved from the UK to the US. If you are new to the channel, welcome back. My name is Samuel Brown Cheche. You can call me Mighty Brown. I'm an international nurse. I had my training in Ghana, moved to the UK, and now I'm in the US working as an ER nurse. I didn't really have any special topic in mind, just to touch base with you guys and share a few things with you regarding some of the things that I keep, well, as usual, getting in my DM, asking me some various questions regarding the immigration process for international nurses, especially those who want to move from other countries to the UK and to the US. Well, for today, I'm going to share with you guys something special about the US process. If you check my channel, you'd notice I've already shared a few things with regards to the process, the step-by-step process of getting your credentials and license recognized in the US, even before you can start searching for a job and all that. Yeah, so today what I want to do is to share with you the differences between the H1B and EB3 visa, and if I have time, or well, if possible, I may also share with you something about a direct hire versus an agency hire. Well, I don't even know which of them to start with. So I think I'll start with the last one, the direct hire versus an agency hire. So as I said earlier, this is not a very structured video, but I believe it's going to be very useful because I do get these questions a lot from most of you guys. So what is a direct hire and what is an agency hire? This is a very peculiar thing to consider after you are done with your NCLEX process. After you are done with your NCLEX exam, you have your license to practice. You are now recognized as a USRN, and now you begin to think what next. So you start applying for jobs, and then you begin to hear this thing about direct hire, agency hire, blah blah blah. And then you get confused and you start asking, what do they even mean by direct and agency hire? So this is what it is. To practice in the US as a nurse, especially if you are an internationally educated nurse, you either have to be directly employed by an employer or a hospital, so to say, or a staffing agency in the US can also employ you and then assign you to a facility, or should I say dispatch you. So this is it. Like if a staffing agency in the US, when we have a number of them, I'll try and leave some of them in the comment section if possible. So we have a number of staffing or employment agencies in the US that help nurses abroad to get job in the US. So if you apply to some of these recruitment agencies or the staffing agencies, some of them would employ you themselves and then assign you to their clients. So the agencies have hospitals they are working with. The recruitment agencies have hospitals they are working with in the US. So what they do is the recruitment agents will employ you, the nurse looking for job in the US, and then the recruitment agency will be your main employer. So the recruitment agent will be your employer, and that agency will be paying your salary and your remuneration, and they will process your visa, they will pay for your everything. So you don't have a direct link or a direct employment contract with the hospital you are going to be working with. So that is what we call the staffing agency. So the staffing agency is more like a third party employer. So they will employ you and then give you one of their clients, and their client in this case is the hospital. So say agency A employs you, the nurse. They'll be paying your salary, they'll determine your rate, your hourly rate and everything. But when you get to the US, you are gonna be assigned a hospital which you don't have any direct contract with. Your contract is gonna be with the agency that is dispatching you to the hospital. So you'll be working at the hospital and you don't have any salary negotiation. Whatever rate the hospital is supposed to pay, blah blah blah, that is, the hospital has no business with you regarding that discussion. They do all those contracts and those agreements and everything with your agency. So I believe that makes sense. So you're gonna be working for a hospital, but your employer is actually the agency that brought you to the US. So that is the staffing agent. And then the direct hire, on the other hand, it's when it's where you have a direct contract with the hospital you're going to be working with. So even though the recruitment agency or agent is going to facilitate your contract, like it's going to be the link, they are going to connect you to the hospital, but after connecting you to the hospital, their role ends there, or their work ends there. You, on the other hand, at this point are now going to negotiate your contract, go through the interview process and everything with the hospital directly, and then agree on your hourly rate and everything, then sign the contract and all that. And the recruitment agent may still continue to give you support with regards to immigration process and everything, regarding your process and your migration process, so to put it, until you get to the US and start working. So they will serve as a support system for you. But when you get to the US, you are gonna be directly responsible for yourself, because you are going to negotiate your contract and everything. The contract is going to be directly between you and the hospital, unlike the one we discussed earlier where the contract is between you and the agency. So this is the difference with the staffing agency job. Your contract is between you and the recruitment agent. So the recruitment agency is going to be the one determining your salary and condition of service, working condition and everything. But with the direct hire, the contract is going to be between you and the hospital directly. So that is the main difference. Now, here is the question people be asking: so which one is the best? Should I go for the direct hire? Should I go for the agency staffing? Now, they all have their pros and cons, so it depends on individual circumstance or situation. All right, so now someone will be asking, so which one should I go for? Should I go for the recruitment agency? Staffing agency, or should I go for direct hire? Blah blah blah. Now, it all depends on individual circumstances and preferences and all that, because they both have their pros and cons. Let's take this for example, salary wise. Now, most people obviously want to move to the US because they want better life, they want better salaries, blah blah blah. So now, in terms of salary, obviously the direct hire is gonna have a higher salary than the staffing agency. Here is why: because with the direct hire, you are going to negotiate your contract directly with the hospital, and the hospital is going to be paying your salary directly into your account. So if there is any, and your salary is most times at the same rate as there are other employers within the US, whoever has been, I mean, it's based on merit, it's based on your experience, how long you've been a nurse, and also the type of role you've been employed for. So your rate in this sense is gonna be much higher compared to the direct hire, compared to the staffing agency. And the reason is because with the staffing agency, the recruitment agent is going to be your main employer. So the hospital will be paying your recruitment agent, and then for your service, for you the nurse, your service, and then the recruitment agent will also be paying you a percentage of whatever they are charging the hospital. So it's like the recruitment agents will be paid by the hospital for providing you, for providing them with a nurse. However, they're going to be taking administrative charges, blah blah blah, helping you to come to the US, and a whole lot. So I think this makes sense. This is self-explanatory. The hospital is basically going to pay your recruitment agent, and then your recruitment agent will be the one paying you the nurse. So the rate is not going to be the same as the one who is having a direct hire contract, because if you have a direct hire contract, you're going to negotiate everything, you're going to have everything directly with the hospital, and they'll be paying you directly without going through a third party. But with the staffing agent, the hospital actually, in a way, doesn't know you, they know your employer, which is the agency that is assigning you to them. So they'll be paying the recruitment agents your salary, and then the recruitment agents will also be taking their portion for their services before giving you your due salary based on the contract that you signed with them. So don't think of it as the hospital giving your agency your salary, but rather based on the contract you signed with your agency. It doesn't matter how much the hospital is going to be paying your agent for your working in their facility. Your agency is going to be paying you based on the contract that you have signed with them, your agency. It can be a bit confusing, but I really hope you guys get the explanation or the difference in this. So once this is established, what else? The other difference is when it comes to job security wise, because you have a contract with the agency and not the hospital. When it comes to things like, well, nobody gets a new job and think of losing the job anyway, but since we are comparing the differences, it's good I mention this as well. Assuming there is a layoff, the company that or the hospital you are working in is laying people off. Maybe they are reducing the number of staffing, blah blah blah. Maybe something has happened and they want to lay some staff off and all those kind of things. If you are staffing agents, if you are working as an agency nurse, if you are with the recruitment agent, what will happen is, because your contract is not with the hospital directly, the hospital cannot lay you off. What they will do is to tell your agency that they don't need your service, and then your recruitment agency will now have to reassign you to a different hospital. So when it comes to job security, people who work as staffing agents kind of have some sense of security more than direct hire, because with the direct hire, if they lay you off, you've got to find your own way out. Like, you've got to find a different job, you've got to find a different employer to sponsor you, blah blah blah. So that is the main that is one disadvantage on the side of direct hire, which happens to be an advantage on the part of agency staffing. So you realize that salary wise, the direct hire guys have upper hand because they negotiate their contract and everything directly with the hospital, and they tend to have a higher rate. And if there is any annual increment of salaries and stuff like that, you also get to benefit just like any other person in the hospital. But if you're a staffing agent, it all has to do with your agents, whatever contract you have with your agency. Even if there is an increment or if there are some remunerations or bonuses at the workplace, you might not directly benefit because your contract is different. So if you want an increment, you've got to discuss it with your agent. So that is the two main differences between the direct hire and then the staffing agent. So now the question is, someone will say, which one should I go for? Like, I keep getting that a lot. Which one should I go for, the direct hire or? Now I cannot tell you to go for a direct hire and cancel your agency staffing contract. However, whichever one that comes, just compare the contract, compare the rates, compare whatever each employer is offering. If you feel the direct hire offer is much better, go for it. If you feel the agency staffing is much better, just go for it. Now the next question is, how do you get the recruitment agencies that do direct hire and those that do staffing agents? Now, the same recruitment agent could be doing both direct hire and staffing. So it is up to you to confirm with them which one you actually want or which one you are after. Some people will be like, well, whichever vacancy you get, whether it's direct hire or staffing, I'm cool. There are a few agents, recruitment agencies that only do direct hire, and also there are a few that do both the direct hire and then the staffing agents. But you find quite a number of agencies that do only the staffing agents. We have a long list of them. So it's entirely up to you. Just confirm with whichever recruitment agent or agency you are working with. Just find out from them whether they are doing direct hire or they are doing staffing. And most times, if you get an opportunity for staffing agency, don't say you only want direct hire, so you're not going to take it. I advise some people to just take it. If you are not getting the direct hire, just take the agency staffing and go through the contract. If the contract is fine, work with them, get to the US, finish your contract, and then after you are done with them, you can find your way out. You can now apply to any hospital you want as a direct staff. Okay, so that is it for that aspect. Now what's next? What's the other questions people have been asking? What is the other question? Another question that has been coming up, I think I mentioned that earlier, was whether to go for H1B or EB3 visa. Now here is the thing, just like I explained with regards to the direct hire and agents, H1B visa, in this sense, in the first place, to come to the US, you need to get an employer who is ready to sponsor your work visa. And this work visa, we have many types of work visas, but for nurses, the most common or popular type of work visa you can come in here with is the H1B or EB3. The EB3 visa gives you pathway to getting your permanent residency in the US. That gives you the green card upon your arrival. And then the H1B visa gives you a 3-year work visa, which is renewable after the 3 years. So when you come in, it will expire after 3 years, and then after that 3 years you can renew it for another 3 years. And so this is the main difference. As I mentioned earlier, the EB3 gives you a green card. The H1B is it has an expiration date of 3 years, which is renewable for another 3 years. Now, someone will say, why then go for H1B and not go for EB3 straight away? And I would also ask, why not go for both if you ever get the opportunity for these two? And here is why. With the H1B visa, the process is faster. It can actually get you into the US within 3 months. If you have all your documents ready, you've passed your NCLEX, you have your visa screen, you do everything, you have everything intact, the processing should be within a space of 3 months. You should be getting your visa ready, and you should be on your way flying into the United States to work. And There is also, most times you can easily get these H1B visas. Most of them are direct hire. Most of the H1B visas are direct hire. However, there are some agency staffing also that, may help you to get the H1B visa as a staffing agent, but that is rare. Majority, most times the H1B is a direct hire offer. And the benefit of the H1B is, as I mentioned, is very fast. It will get you here within 3 months. And also, whilst working, you don't have any restrictions with regards to salary wise. Someone will say those on the H1B have maybe salary restriction or blah 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 and stuff like that. No, it's never true. You can still do everything. The only thing you cannot do when you are on H1B visa is to work for a different employer. So the H1B visa, just like many other countries where their work visa restricts you to only one employer, the H1B visa also requires you to work for only that employer that you've come here to work for. Whereas with the EB3, you have the opportunity to work for, to have multiple jobs. You can have as many jobs as one, as far as you are able to fulfill your contracts or work for your primary employer. There is no restrictions on that. And the EB3, as I mentioned, also gives you straightforward green card. Whereas with the H1B visa, when you're on H1B visa, you can still apply for the green card whilst you are in the country. So some employers are able to apply for the EB3 even after arrival of the nurses in the country. So some employers do research that if you arrive in the US and you work for them, you work with them for a certain period, and all these you can discuss with them during your contract and interview and all those things, so that you know what you are entering into. So some of them will get you in the country, and then you start working on the H1B, and they put in application for the I-140, which is for the permanent residency or the green card application. So you'll be in the US working on your H1B whilst still waiting for your green card. And sometimes by the time your H1B visa, by the time your 3 year is due on the H1B visa, your EB3 card might also be ready or in the process of getting ready for you as well. So if you ever get an employer or recruitment agent that says, hey, we have an opportunity, we have a vacancy by this H1B, and then you'll be like, oh, why? I want EB3. So with the EB3, some of them will be like, oh yeah, we can actually apply for EB3 when you come to the US, or maybe, because they are short-staffed and they really need nurses in the country, they will be like, hey, when you get here, we will apply for you, blah, blah, blah. And some people who don't really understand end up turning down such wonderful offers. It's actually a very great offer. If they are okay, if they are willing to apply for EB3 for you whilst you are in the US, you can actually go for it if you want. However, the H1B visa has some specific requirement. So the first thing is the number one basic requirement for the H1B is you have to be a degree holder. You must have a minimum of a bachelor's degree in the whatever field, or probably if you are a nurse, at least generally the general rule of thumb is to have a minimum of bachelor's degree. And also whatever job that you are being sponsored for must be a specialty occupation job. So it's not just any RN position in the US that is qualified for the H1B. You must either be an ER nurse, or an ICU nurse, or a high acuity, maybe critical care nurse, dialysis, a trauma nurse, orthopedic nurse. So you must have a specialty. If the H1B doesn't work for positions that are general, like message, like general nursing roles, and position like outpatient department, medical floor, like working as a float nurse and those kind of roles, you will not be qualified for H1B because the process is vigorous. And whilst talking about H1B, let me also mention people mistake this particular type of H1B with the one that they do for the lottery, like the DV lottery one. So we have types of H1B. We have the cap exempt H1B, and then we have those that are not cap exempt. We have the cap H1B and we have the cap exempt. So the cap exempt is where that one is not based on any lottery. So if you're an RN and then you have an employer who says they are able to apply for H1B for you, don't feel like they are going to do lottery for you and stuff like that. It is very different. So the H1B that most nurses get, that are cap. So if someone, or if an employer or a recruitment agency says they are going to apply for H1B, just verify from them which of the H1Bs. Is it the cap exempt or the cap H1B? If it is cap exempt, then you don't have anything to do with those quotas that the government have been giving regarding H1B visas. That one comes with, it's a probability. But with the cap exempt, you don't have to worry about any probability. It's not a lottery type. And also, the H1B can only be, another main difference between the EB3 and the H1B is the EB3 can be applied for by, I would say, almost every employer can sponsor an EB3 visa. Yeah. Or almost every recruitment agent can help you get an EB3 visa. But only some particular employers are able to sponsor H1B, because I mentioned earlier the H1B is a specialty visa. So the position, first of all, you need to get a minimum of a degree. You have to be a minimum of bachelor's degree holder, master's and above. You also, the position or the job offer must also be a specialty position. It must be a specialty in a sense that it shouldn't be a general role that just any nurse, so to put it, will be able to fill in. It must be, and I give examples like ICU nurse, emergency department nurse, and those kind of those other specialties like trauma nurse, orthopedic nurse, dialysis, hematology nurse, and those kind of specialties. And then another requirement is to get a sponsor, an employer who has the license to sponsor H1B, because the H1B, it's not sponsored by, it's not every employer that is able to sponsor. Just a few employers are able to sponsor H1B visas. That's why when you get an employer who says you want to sponsor H1B, just confirm with them if they are happy to sponsor for your EB3 as well when you come working with them. And if they offer to do it, just go ahead and then accept the offer. But if not, you can decide based on what you want. So it's also, as I said, it has to be an employer that is licensed or supposed to be that has the license to sponsor for H1B. And then, but for the EB3, almost every employer can. Another main difference is, as I mentioned, with the processing time. EB3, H1B cap exempt, it's not affected by any retrogression. Whereas the EB3 is heavily, most of you, if you are watching this video trying to understand this process, obviously, I'll take it that you know what there is what we mean by retrogression. So with the EB3, it takes a very long time. After applying, it takes quite some time to get approved. The I-140 takes a while to be approved, and after the approval, even if you do premium process, after the approval, you're still going to join a very long queue of retrogression, and you have to be waiting for the visa bulletin, blah blah blah. It takes an average of 2 years to 3 years for some countries, and as many as 10 to 12 years for some other countries. Yeah, so that is another main difference. But with the H1B, it's just straightforward. Another thing I'd like to clarify with regards to the H1B visa, this question I've been getting a lot, is the fact that most people or many people will be like, hey, I've been offered an H1B visa, but I have a wife and ahead, if you have a dependent, they will not be able to work on the H4 visa. So the H4 visa is for dependents of the H1B visa. And this is it. If you come in to the US on an H1B visa, you can work for only one employer, as I mentioned. You can attend school, you can do anything you like apart from except working for somebody else. And also when it comes to your dependent can attend school, they can do anything, they are entitled to do access all services, but they will not be able to work on the H4 visa. If you want them to work, or if they want to work, they have to apply for what we call the employment authorization document. So it is not an outright dismissal that they cannot work at all. There is a condition to be met before they will be able to work on the H1B visa. I mean, if they are on H4 visa. So the employment authorization document it takes about 3 months to go through. I mean, maximum 6 months. That is if you have all the required documents and apply for it. And to be able to meet the requirement, the number one or primary requirement to be met before you can apply for the employment authorization document is when your spouse, the main person who is on the H1B visa, applies for the EB3 and get the I-140 approval. So say you come into the US with your family, and then your wife or husband is on H4 visa and is not able to start working immediately. Whilst you are working with your current employer, you can actually discuss or talk with your employer to put in the EB3 application for you. So once they apply for your EB3, or once they put in the application for I-140, and then your I-140 gets approved, then you can simply use that approval notice to apply for an employment authorization for your spouse or for your dependent. So they will also be granted the employment authorization document based on your I-140 approval. Then they'll be able to work just like you and also live comfortably. So this answers the question of people who are on H4 visa, or the spouses of people on H1 visa are not allowed to work. Yes, you are not allowed to work immediately, but there are some conditions to be met. Once you meet those conditions, definitely nobody will block you from working. You can go ahead and then apply to work in whatever field that you want to work in. So what else? What other question have I been getting these days about these two visas? Let me just touch on the most recent breaking news that is currently going viral regarding Donald Trump's recent imposition of $100,000 fee on the H1B visa. So here's the thing: that fee is not going to be paid by you, the candidate. It is actually the employer that is supposed to pay the government that amount of money, and they are supposed to pay for per employee per application. Your employer is expected to be paying the US government an amount of $100,000 for bringing you into the country on an H1B visa. What that means, the government is simply trying to, reduce or discourage the influx of immigrants or foreign workers into the country, to give more room for the Americans, probably in the way of making available job opportunities for the American citizens. The American First agenda. Yeah, I know this has got many people panicking and asking a lot of questions and blah blah. And it's also one of the reasons why a whole lot of things are changing immigration wise. So it's important that if you get some opportunities, you take it. You don't try to drag your feet or delay things because things keep changing. Nobody knows what they will wake up tomorrow to, to hear about immigration processes in countries all over the world. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's not you are not going to be the one paying those monies. It's your employer that is going to pay, and that is why they regard the H1B. There are some exemptions, though. They did mention that there are some exemptions. Nobody knows what those exemption terms are at the moment, so at this point we can only hope and pray that if you happen to be in the H1B process already, I hope this doesn't distort your US process or your plans and everything. So hopefully I hope I was able to answer most of your questions. I'll come back to chip in more. I'll come back to add more if I remember. As I mentioned, today's video was very unplanned. I mean, I don't have any points, so to say. I wasn't going by any listed points or anything. I just wanted to reconnect with you guys and also give you a little update and differences between some few things that I keep getting. And if I forgot to mention something, just comment down below, and then I'll find time to I'll come and then address those as well. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Once again, my name is Samuel Brown Cheche. You can call me Mighty Brown. Yeah, I'm a US RN that moved in from the UK, first from Ghana to the UK and then from UK to the US. That I try to reconnect with other international nurses to give you some tips and gist, and also discuss a few things regarding nursing, immigration and its related matters. If you want more of these videos, like my page, comment, share, and let's keep in touch. Thank you very much for watching, and until we meet again, I always say, one step at a time. God is interested in your progress. Bye.